Hey sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Sarita Sese, coming to you from Toronto, Canada. Of course, I can't do this show alone, so I'm going to introduce this week's panel. First, from New York, we have Mr. PJ Hughes.
Hey, what's up, Zarita? Just a fun fact for today, Miami just got their first win after the All-Star break.
Oh, there you go. They keep rolling. Next, from Bakersfield, California, we have Mark Marenko. Welcome back, Mark.
Hello, Zarita. Thank you for having me again. And another fun fact, the Sixers are dominating with their new acquisition, James Harden.
Ooh, it's working out for James Harden so far. Very nice. And lastly, of course, we have Ben Bernaldez from Santa Rosa, Laguna.
What's up, guys, and to our viewers, welcome to the show. It's an exciting episode. NBA talks, let's go.
We've been waiting to talk about some basketball, so we're very excited. Of course, we want to remind all of you that though we are very passionate about our takes, we are merely fans of the sports and by no means experts. But before we jump into our main topics, we do have some updates from the sports world this week. First, we have our very own Mike Hudson from some basketball news from Portland.
Hey everybody, I'm here in Portland, Oregon at the Moda Center where the Portland Trail Blazers are hosting the Golden State Warriors.
In the first quarter, the pace of the game was rampant as both teams were pretty fresh coming off a week-long rest during the All-Star break. The Warriors started the game with an emphatic dunk by starting center Kevon Looney, as well as a three-pointer and driving layup by starting forward Gary Payton II. The Trailblazers had fight in them early as former NBA slam dunk champion Anthony Simons led the team with 10 points and fellow guard Josh Hart was 4 for 4 from the field with 8 points after the first quarter. In the second half, things turned over towards the Warriors' way for good as the Splash Brothers, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, heated up, finishing off the game with 18 points apiece and not even playing a single minute in the final quarter of the game. The Blazers' Anthony Simons led all scorers with 24 points, and Steph Curry also chipped in with 14 assists, giving the Golden State Warriors an overall record of 43-17. Reporting from Portland, Oregon, this is Michael Hudson, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you.
Thanks for the update, Mike. Now, switching gears, Carlo Valdez was able to sit down with the New York Yankee prospect, Anthony Volpe. Here's the interview.
Anthony Volpe, living the dream. Like any boy growing up in New York City, he became a fan of the Yankees, that iconic team of America's national pastime.
The New York Yankees select Anthony...
Anthony Volpe, just 20 years old, has been drafted by the farm team of the New York Yankees. His dad, Michael, says Anthony's passion for baseball had its roots in its infancy.
In our small apartment in New York City, as the game was on, I would throw him these little balls, and he would hit him with this little wooden bat, and we would just play games, and I would try to get him out, and he would try to jump over me, or if I got him out, he would argue, and Seth's probably when he was about 2, maybe.
And Anthony soon outgrew that and began running the bases.
Really, ever since I can remember, I've been playing baseball. I mean, my earliest memories, I have a ball in my hand and I'm just playing at the field with my dad and with my whole family. So those are kind of my best memories, playing the game.
That passion for the sport grew during the years, and by middle school, Anthony made the USA national team. By the time he reached high school, Anthony was living in New Jersey, becoming a superstar on the diamond. But he didn't allow the sport to overtake his studies. Anthony maintained straight A's until graduation. Right after receiving his high school diploma, it was decision time for Anthony. He had been accepted to Vanderbilt University, known for its premier college baseball program. But also knocking at his door were the Yankees, who wanted to draft him. A dream come true.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I mean, obviously, growing up in New York City and being such a huge Yankee fan, I'd say it's every kid's dream that I grew up with. So it's definitely surreal. It's hard to kind of put into words, but I think the most special part about it was just being there with my family and my friends and all my coaches and all the people that kind of helped me get to where I was.
But don't look for the talented shortstop in Yankee Stadium just yet. This #1 prospect is working his way through the Yankee farm system. Last year was good to him, named Yankees 2021 Minor League Player of the Year. This spring, he will play for the Somerset Patriots, the AA affiliate of the Yankees. None of this is a surprise to Anthony's family, says his dad, Michael.
I knew when he was a baby because he walked so early, like about 9 months old, and he was really athletic compared to the other kids in his grade, that he was a good athlete. Like I knew that from when he was really, really young.
And Anthony, who is now on top of the world, says he's truly blessed.
Yeah, I just say, like I said, thank you to my parents, my whole family. I wouldn't obviously be able to do it without them. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm very lucky.
On what he hopes is the verge of a legacy, Anthony Volpe is focused on today, getting ready for his debut in Yankee Stadium. Carlo Valdez, EBC Sports International, New Jersey.
Good stuff. Thanks, Carlo. And for some more feel-good family and sports stories, let's take a look at the NBA's Antetokounmpo brothers and how important basketball has been in their lives.
Basketball, the sport that brought the Antetokounmpo family to the United States from Greece. 4 of the Antetokounmpo sons would go on to play professional basketball. That changed the family's livelihood for the better. No longer did they have to sell CDs and sunglasses on the streets of Athens to put food on the table. Reunited at the NBA All-Star Game festivities in Cleveland were Giannis, Alex, and Thanasis. And though they were scattered throughout the professional basketball world, different teams, different countries, this year's NBA All-Star Game became a family reunion.
We're blessed just to have this opportunity to, be with him, be with Thanas. Like he's in Toronto, Thanas with me. Coach is in France. Like it's not like we spend a lot of time together in the season, right? Not just to go to a challenge and compete together. That's great. I feel like that's a great feeling. I think my mom enjoyed it. She took a bunch of videos, photos. So I'm happy.
The tight-knit brothers took the opportunity to compete together in the newly revamped Taco Skills Challenge, which was won by hometown favorite Team Cavs. Though they placed third in the competition, all that mattered was that they were together on the court in the year where the NBA is commemorating its 75th anniversary.
It was a different experience for me, so I never get to experience this. So I'm very grateful that I even had the opportunity.
Will we see these brothers at next year's event in Salt Lake City? Thanasis eagerly wants to return for another opportunity to play alongside Giannis and Alex again.
You guys want to come back next year?
Yes, sir. Yes, we'll come back. I'm so grateful, like we get to do as brothers things that, we would do in our backyard, have fun, like stuff like that. We get to do it on this big stage. I'm so grateful and we're blessed, so definitely.
Giannis and Thanasis will continue to help the Bucks pave their way to another NBA title. And Alex will continue to progress his game in his first season with the 905 Raptors, the G League affiliate of the Toronto Raptors. Tenny Sumagi, EBC Sports International, New York.
Great story. Thanks, Tenny. And lastly, we have some drag racing updates coming from our LA Bureau.
Racing is back. We're talking nitrous guzzling, bone jarring action returning to thrill NHRA fans.
Familiar drivers and crews report to the Auto Club Raceway at Pomona, with a few of them rolling out changes for the new season.
One such team to do this comes from Toyota Racing.
This is our debut race with it here in Pomona. We did some preseason testing with it earlier the beginning of the year in Florida. Then we ran last week in Phoenix with it and ran some really good numbers in preseason testing. One of my best runs at 3.86 seconds at over 334 miles an hour. For those that aren't familiar with a NITRO funny car, they produce upwards of 11,000 to 12,000 horsepower, go 0 to 330 plus miles an hour in 3.8 seconds. So I like to think that we now have the world's quickest and fastest Toyota GR Supra. As a kid, I always drove dragsters all the way up until, you know, my late 30s, basically. So all those characteristics you learn, and then you hop into a funny car, which is shorter wheelbase, heavier, the engine's in front of you. They don't have as much downforce as a dragster. It takes a whole new driving style that I basically had to kind of relearn how to drive again. You got to be more aggressive with the steering wheel at times compared to the dragster because they're so much longer. They are harder, I think, and challenging, but at the same time, they're a whole lot of fun. Not that dragsters aren't fun, I just think that the Ds are totally different, and I enjoy the challenge that they bring. People always ask me, you know, what my daily driver is, do I have some sort of hot rod? But once I got that GR Supra, it's nice to just cruise in. I just recently moved to Florida, so I like cruising along the beach and that thing, you know, like getting people, like I said, waving to you, thumbs up and stuff like that. So when this thing goes 330 miles an hour, I want to go home and just relax and not be in a hurry, you know.
For a drag racer, being in a hurry is measured at hundreds of miles per hour in less seconds than you can count on one hand.
Sometimes you get in the car and you're just really calm, cool, collected, and sometimes you get in the car and you just have adrenaline running through you. There's a lot of just different situations that arise throughout the year of, you know, between qualifying and testing and racing and then final rounds, and depending on who you're racing. And so there's a lot of things that go on throughout the year. I mean, obviously it's a great feeling to go 330 miles an hour and accelerate, you know, 0 to 100 in less than a second, 6 Gs. It's a pretty incredible feeling. A lot of races separated by thousandths of a second. So in our sport, there's no do-overs. So everything matters from the time you hit the gas to the time you shut the car off. Every turn of the wheel is just ways to slow yourself down. So you really try to be as smooth as possible and as quick as possible. And when you're separated by thousandths of a second, one false move or one bad move or one mechanical error will cost you the race. This team's a great team. You know, the DHL crew has been together for a couple years. We've had a couple little changes in the off season, brought in a couple people that we feel can really help the organization. And then obviously with Toyota Gazoo Racing, we have a lot of support from them. We have crew chiefs on between the DHL Funny Car, DHL Dragster, and the Mac Tools Dragster. They relay information back and forth. So there's a lot of brain trust that goes on and a lot of information that gets passed throughout the three teams throughout the day. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's one big team, and you know, hopefully we're able to accomplish some big things at the end of the year. It's a little different from the last couple of years. I mean, so it's obviously good to get everybody back out to the races, enjoying it, and having a beautiful day out here, and get back to what we love, and that's watch fast race cars and for us to go fast.
Going fast is the name of the game for both seasoned pros and junior drag racers looking to be the future of the NHRA.
We're having the juniors display our cars, as you can see, to just spread the word about junior drag racing and broaden the whole program. Our cars, it's very, very consistent. So if we want to turn 790, it'll run like 790 or anywhere around that. Makes like mid 50 horsepower. I'm pretty sure it's like 500 cc's. It's crazy, it goes fast. I wanted to change the car to be more me, but everyone started complimenting how nice it looked, how sparkly it was. And then I seemed to fall in love with like the orange and the gold and the sparkles and the flames. So now it just became a part of me. Like orange is now one of my top favorite colors. If you look, like all the cars are blue or white. My car's different and it pops.
The 62nd annual Lucas Oil NHRA WINTERNATIONALS kicks off a drag racing season which, when experienced in person, creates a markedly different kind of sensation.
when you're in the stands, you feel the rumble underneath you, and you feel the power, and that's part of the attention draw that I think a lot of people come back is because of that, and being able to come into the pits and see the drivers, see the crew, see them tear apart a motor, down to a bare block, put it back together in an hour and fire it back up and go out there and make another run. So they're able to stand behind us when we warm it up, and they're able to smell the nitro and get a little bit of that burn of the nitro sensation. So like I said, it's the atmosphere that's what sells the ticket.
Once we hit the throttle with 11,000 horsepower, it's like a small earthquake. For those who haven't been out here, like you see them jump off the ground almost. It's a pretty cool experience. I've never seen someone come out here for their first time and say they didn't enjoy it. They always come back and tell their friends, and that's what it's all about.
The road between season opener and the championships in November is a long one.
But as long as there's engine roaring, smoke billowing driving, and drag racing fans are more than up for it.
Evan Allen, ABC Sports International, Los Angeles.
Thanks, Eva and Alan. And that's actually all the updates that we have for today. When we return, we're going to get the panel's reaction on the NBA All-Star festivities. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Bago pa man ang pandemya ng COVID-19, mataas na ang pagkilala ng mga Pilipinong consumer sa responsibilidad ng mga kumpanya na tumutulong sa lipunan. But during the pandemic, we've seen more and more companies committing to such corporate social responsibility activities. What has inspired this generosity, and how can businesses get involved in building their communities? We'll find this out from our guests from JCI Manila as they share how COVID-19 is encouraging corporate social responsibility.
I believe every small act, lahat ng kabataan, may kakayahan upang tumulong sa ating mga komunidad.
Pwede natin tignan yung pandemya na maganda rin para sa mga millennial. Kasi ngayon nabigyan na tayo ng pagsubok na yun. And susuko ba tayo? Nasa sa atin na yun. And of course, ang advice natin is, wag na wag sumuko.
All this in this episode of Open for Business.
Welcome back, sports fans. So we're going to jump right into our conversation. We're going to talk about the NBA All-Star, which just took place last weekend in Cleveland. From the new look Rising Star events and the skills competition to the lackluster slam dunk competition. And of course, we have the main event of the All-Star game with Steph Curry's historical performance. There were the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. And with that in mind, I want to get the panel's reaction of the weekend. So Ben, let's start with you. I just want to get your general thoughts on what the weekend was like. What were some of your highlights?
Well, Zarita, the weekend had been a blast, and despite the widely criticized dunk contest that was widely considered the worst of all time, but I had some highlights during the weekend. That first was the day one featuring the Rising Stars new format, and everyone glued to their seats, and it's generally praised for bringing out more of the competitive fire of the Rising Star game. The rookies and the sophomores really was very competitive, and that should have been the case for rookie Rising Star. And second is of course the 3-point shootout, and the first center who won that shootout was Karl Anthony Towns, and it's really nice to see a big man evolving to a shooter. And of course, lastly, Golden State Warriors superstar Steph Curry named All-Star MVP, and he sang a record-breaking 16 triples to help him get 50 points. And of course, Team LeBron still undefeated, and I'm glad that that was the case. Even if there are some good plays, and I think that was the highlight of my All-Star weekend.
Very nice. Yeah, it seemed like it was Steph Curry's show, right? Like it was just his All-Star, and everyone was just there to be, I don't know, sideline. Mark, so Ben touched on it earlier, kind of the new format for the Rising Star, which I thought was great. But what were your thoughts on the new format? Is this something that the NBA should stick with?
I definitely love how it encourages more players to go out there and just show what they got. A good example is Bones Highland from Denver Nuggets. You don't get to see him a lot because, again, maybe the Denver Nuggets, but then they don't get a lot of national coverage per se, like the Los Angeles Lakers. And so for this type of format, it's great to give that young talent the show and to put on a show like how back in 2012 when Dion Waiters and Tim Hardaway, I believe Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dion Waiters went at it that one year. If that type of excitement built, you saw that type of excitement when the first game was on, when I believe it was Jason Tate made that game-winning layup for their specific team. So you can definitely see the competitiveness there and the excitement that's there. So yeah, and that's how I feel about the new format for the Rising Stars game.
Very nice. So just Mark, based solely on that Rising Star, not their performance throughout the season, who would be your winner for Rookie of the Year? Just based on that game.
So you don't see it in the scoreboard and the stat sheet, but Cade Cunningham was putting on a show and handling the ball very well. You could tell that he was a veteran amongst the rookies and the sophomores, and how calm and composed he was, getting his teammates to the open shots, setting up his teammates to get to the perfect spot that they needed to be. And I really do think that he really does deserve to be Rookie of the Year this year, despite Evan Mobley having a great season for the Cavs.
No mention of my Scotty Barnes. Come on, Scotty Barnes has been impressive. No.
True, but
sorry, I'm always going to plug the Raptors any chance I get. So, as for the halftime show, we saw the presentation of the 75 players in honor of the league's 75th anniversary. Each player got their moment to shine as their names were announced. I may be making something out of nothing here, but PJ, what does it mean for the GOAT argument that the one, the only Michael Jordan was the last to be announced?
You know, Zarita, to answer your question, there's a very old, wise saying, you save the best for last. Or in this case, the greatest of all time for last. That's basically my answer. LeBron James, I think just all the more just kind of puts him on the pedestal for GOAT, especially when it comes to the NBA. I don't know. Maybe it's the era I grew up in, but it's definitely.
No. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. So Ben, back to you. As for the main event of the All-Star, what were your thoughts? I know you quickly touched on it. What were your thoughts on Curry's performance? And even if Team LeBron lost and Team Durant won, would Curry still have been the MVP?
Well, it's like you've unlocked a legendary player in a game. This man just shoots from anywhere in the court. Curry broke the All-Star game record for three-pointers made during the third quarter. The previous record was 9. Curry sunk 8 at the halftime and 16 overall. And he finished with an All-Star game career high 50 points, just too shy of Anthony Davis' record set in 2017. For the 3-minute stretch in the third quarter, Curry turned the game into his own personal shooting contest. And he canned 4 straight threes, including a step back from the logo. And also the one that has really made viral is that when he shot even deeper and also jogged back on defense while his three-point is mid-flight. And the good thing about that is that he looked at Trae Young and saying him, this is how it should be done. And Curry set a new record for threes in a quarter with 6 in the second quarter, then broke his own mark in the third with 7 and total 16, like I said. And you see how this man is really legendary performance this season, and we are going to see the Warriors in the finals. And as also you mentioned, even if Team Durant wins, I think Steph would still be the MVP of that game with his legendary performance.
Yeah, I don't think he could have given it to anybody else, even if they played well. But moving on, of course, we are going to save the best for last. Everyone seems to agree, we talked about it really quickly at the top of this block, that this year's slam dunk contest was probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in all of NBA All-Star history. Jalen Green of the Rockets, Obi Toppin of the Knicks, Cole Anthony of the Magic, and Juan Toscano Anderson of the Warriors were among those who participated, and it was actually Toppin with a between-the-leg, off-the-backboard dunk to win it all. Mark, how did you feel about this season's slam dunk contest? And please be brutally honest.
They definitely need to change the dunk contest. If they can change the Rising Stars format, they can change the dunk contest. And because of course, we understand for Jalen Green, since he's a rookie, he probably got the nerves coming into All-Star weekend, and he's super excited to just be there. So we can definitely understand the nerves from that. But then the type of talent that gets put in to participate in the dunk contest, we expect guys like John Morant, Zion Williamson to participate in these, and there's no incentive at all for these types of All-Stars to participate in this type of event, other than being probably one of the best dunkers in the league. And so, honestly, they need to do better.
Oh yeah, I think they're slowly starting to lose fans, especially for the slam dunk. But PJ, Mark alluded to it, but how can we fix this competition moving forward?
To kind of piggyback off of Mark, the first thing I would say is get the most star power in the dunk contest. Like you mentioned, Mark, Ja, where was Ja at? Anthony Edwards, a nice up-and-coming talent in the NBA. Zion, I know Zion's injured, but get Zion in the dunk contest. Let him do something. Why not even go back in time, bring back Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, let them have another showdown for the history books. The other thing I would say, I think as fans, we kind of have to lower our expectations if they're not going to get the major stars to compete. Because not for nothing, but Obi Toppin, he did some dunks that I've never seen before. I always give points for creativity and doing things I've never seen before. But like what Mark was saying, changes in format. I mean, when it takes you 8 times to get a dunk in, I think that's a little much.
Yeah, I think if you miss the first one, that's it. My attention's gone. I already know what I'm going to get. But it seems like there were more impressive dunks within the All-Star game itself. So, Ben, lastly, who would you have wanted to see? I know the guys already mentioned it earlier, but who would you have wanted to see compete in the slam dunk?
So, Zarita, during the All-Star, the highlight of this is the All-Star game, and then second is the dunk contest. But we need to see more of the All-Star players participating in the slam dunk contest. Like during the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. After Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine showdown, which they raised the bar so high, and nothing will ever come close to that night ever again. Legends like Dr. J, MJ, Dominic Wilkins, Vince Carter. These are all-star players who joined during the all-star game dunk contest. And I think it has changed throughout the years. And I think that has to change and probably bring it back. These young all-stars don't want to play for so many reasons. Like Ja Morant, during the interview, I heard him mention, I think the goal is not high enough for him to think of joining the slam dunk event. What do you think of that? The kind of these young players, but you cannot blame them. But I think the reason why these all-star players are joining the dunk contest because they wanted to promote the game. And there's another one commentator who's been viral that changed it. Invite some straight ballers who have great expertise and skills in dunk contest. Probably the NBA could think of that. Invite them and see. Probably make these NBA players think twice. These are better players than them. But I think this contest is for the fans. We have to give them entertainment during this All-Star games. And I think this is the worst dunk contest ever in NBA history. And I think it has to change. And let's start with all-star players joining the dunk contest.
For sure. Everyone wants John Morant, but John Morant said, give me the money. I think he said, give me $1 million and I'll do it. So there's got to be some incentive there for sure. So well, hopefully Commissioner Adam Silver is listening to everyone's suggestion for next year's All-Star. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with some more basketball talk. Don't go anywhere.
Bida sa pelikula, sa commercials, sa game shows, sa puso mo. Pero ngayon, kayo naman ang bibida dito. Soon on Net25.
Ang morning show na always nagbibigay ng ngiti at saya sa bawat kada all over the world. Tara na't ma-inspire at ma-amaze sa kwento ng mga bawat kada na nagwagi sa anumang hamon at pagsubok ng buhay. Itago ng mga remote control at tumambay lang dito sa paborito niyong barkada sa umaga, ang Kada Umaga! Dahil kayo ang bida dito.
Nakikiusap po ako, maawa ka po sa kanya! Hindi ako maawa! Bakit ba? Lahat na lang nasabihin namin ay kinukontra mo! Ako, si Contraman!
Mga kasama, ito ng mga dokumento. Kailangan nating lagdaan yan. Gamit ang ating mga dugo. Kailangan mo talagang dugo? Dugo. Pwede atsuekin na lang.
Ang ating pong game ngayon ay pagalingan sa Tinikling!
Gusto niyo bang magkaroon ng tsansang manalo ng 5,000 pesos na nasa bahay lang kayo?
Manood lang ng Tara Game agad-agad mula simula hanggang katapusan para makuha ang mga sagot sa dalawang Tara Game questions of the night.
Magpunta lang sa www.net25.com, pindutin ang Tara Game Sagot Agad-agad logo, mag-register at isubmit ang mga sagot mo para magkaroon ka ng entry. Ang dali lang, natuwa ka na, posible ka pang manalo ng 5,000 pesos. Ang dali lang nito. O ano? Sali na sa Tara Game! Sagot Agad-agad promo!
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. So moving away from the NBA All-Star Weekend, New Orleans Pelicans were all over headlines the past couple weeks when the newly acquired CJ McCollum told reporters prior to the All-Star Weekend that he had not yet spoken with franchise player Zion Williamson. Since then, former teammate JJREDDICK went on ESPN to say that this is a pattern of behavior for Williamson and calls him a detached teammate. And of course, we now know that CJ and Zion have spoken. I think they actually spoke over the All-Star Weekend, with CJ coming out to media and saying, leave the young fella alone. So since being drafted by the Pelicans as the first overall pick in 2019, Zion has only played in 85 games due to injury, and we have yet to see him play this season. But when he is on the court, he is a force of nature, averaging 25.7 points per game and shooting 60.4% from the field and 33% from the three. So with that being said, Ben, I'm going to go to you first. Do you agree with Reddick, JJREDDICK, stating that reaching out to a new teammate is the bare minimum?
Well, first of all, JJREDDICK hasn't been a full-time NBA analyst for so long yet. He has already emerged as one of the most insightful broadcaster in the industry, and I also watch him more often. He actually managed himself from the pack in the 5 months he announced his retirement from the NBA. And I think basing from that comment that he made, I think being honest with him, he has been a teammate for Zion. And I think for him as a professional athlete, playing in a team sport, you need to be fully invested in your body, work, and teammates. Now, Zion's actions suggest that he's not fully invested, according to JJREDDICK, and that he was labeled as being detached. In addition to being a professional athlete, a good character should be one of the qualities that a team should look for and agree upon signing a player's contract. And I think we've seen that with these young players. It's different. I don't know, because I live in a different era where it was different during the 90s and the early 2000s. You see none of this hula-bahoo, these dramas from these young players who, if they don't want to play with the team, they make up some excuses. And I think be professional, be a good teammate while you're with the team. And if you don't like the risk, ask for a trade quietly, but still play and be professional. I think that's the most important thing that this young player should, remember.
No, for sure. So there are now reports that this is Zion's way of saying that he wants out of New Orleans. But Mark, given his ongoing absence from the court, does he even have grounds to say that he wants a trade?
Well, to go off of that, we definitely don't want to set a precedence where players can just not show up and get what they want, right? And so for Zion, yes, he should be traded, not because he wants to be traded. Of course, he wants to be traded, but on the premise of we want players who want to play with the team and just want to be able to play the game. For example, although Zion has the skills and the talent to be the best and to be there, a good example is Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet is someone who worked every single day to get to where we're at, to be an all-star, and he's now in a position to be the leader of the team. If Zion Williamson had a work ethic of a Fred VanVleet, who had all to prove and nothing to lose, then we would see him at that superstar caliber level of a player. But again, we want to set the precedence where we want players to play because they want to prove they're the best. And even it doesn't matter what kind of situation you're in, because a lot of stars in the past have had bad situations. Michael Jordan, for example, didn't get to the finals until Scottie Pippen became big, and even when they got Dennis Rodman. But they had to go through a lot of tough times. And for Zion, it's only been 2 or 3 years, or 4 even maybe. That's nothing compared to probably a decade of struggle that most stars had to go through until they've actually experienced real success.
No, for sure. And piggybacking off what Mark said, so this might be premature to ask, but PJ, at what point then can we say that Zion is a bust as a first overall pick? Is he borderline bust yet?
I don't think he's near being a bust. I might be the only one that still has a timeshare on Zion Island here, but you mentioned earlier his stats. If you look at just last season, the man, he averaged almost 27 points per game while shooting 65% true shooting percentage, while doing 7 assists, and I think it was almost 7 rebounds and 4 assists a game. I think, not that I disagree with Ben, Mark, or even JJ, but I think part of the issue might be when you look at Zion, you kind of have to look at the things that he's gone through since he's come into the league, right? Immediately, he has to be the savior of a franchise that's in a small market. On top of that, he's in 2 years, I think he's gone through 2 coaches now, if I'm not mistaken, or 3 years, 2 coaches. And then on top of that, you traded away some of his probably closest friends, somebody that he really relied on in Lonzo Ball. And then you get rid of Josh Hart. And then you bring in someone like CJ McCollum, who Zion has yet to play alongside or have practice with. So I can see from Zion's perspective how the organization isn't really taking care of him. Now, with that said, he's also not taking care of himself. You kind of have to hold yourself accountable there. And on top of that, what everybody was saying, the bare minimum, just text your teammate. That's all it takes. But to answer the question, I don't think he's near being a bust yet. Obviously, we have to see what happens with the injury, if he is able to come back, and obviously lose a ton of weight. He really needs to get his body ready.
Yeah. With the style that he plays, he definitely needs to look out for his body. But moving on to a potential first overall pick. So it was also reported during All-Star that LeBron James said that his final year in the league will be with his son, Bronny James. And LeBron will do whatever it takes to play at least one season with his son. So Bronny James is currently a junior in high school. So assuming that he does follow the natural path, we'll see him, he could potentially play in the 2024-2025 season, which would be LeBron's 22nd season in the league. So not that LeBron has to prove anything for his legacy, but Mark, what would it mean for LeBron's legacy if he is able to play with his son even for just one season?
Well, we could definitely say that they'll be the first father-son duo to be able to play in an NBA game together, not alone in whole season together. We heard about famous NBA families, for example, the Barrys, the Currys are also another famous NBA family. So then for them just to be able to have the opportunity to be on the court together, it will definitely be historic, and also just a good representation of like working hard and showing your family that you can work hard and get somewhere as well.
For sure. I'm going off script here, but PJ, because we talked about GOAT earlier, if he does play with his son, does that change your mind of who the GOAT is?
Honestly, no. I feel like the only thing that's going to change my mind about LeBron being the GOAT is one of two things. He gets more than 6 rings, and the other being he gets a 3P.
Oh man, you have a lot of criteria there in his short time left. But some say this is LeBron's way of saying that he's not happy with the Lakers because he did kind of praise other GMs over his own GM. So Ben, lastly, given the current trajectory of the Lakers, should they even consider trading LeBron for the sake of their future?
No, the Lakers should seriously consider trading LeBron unless they feel they can win another championship with him. Even if James continues his current incredible individual play, keeping those 3 players together like AD and Westbrook will mean another meager season. James gets another year older and misses even more games with injuries, and I think Lakers would suffer from that. Summer of 2023, do you really want to give James a Kobe Bryant retirement contract and then put the Lakers' future on hold for another 5 years? And of course, James' trade value offers greatest reward for the Lakers at a lower risk. Nobody wants a Westbrook and that around $447 million final season on his contract. There will be interest in Davis probably, but his fragility greatly lowers his attractiveness and his value. I think James is one of the few players in the NBA who could instantly turn a championship contender, which the Lakers are decidedly not into champions yet. It's not built for the long haul, but it's a 1-year rental. Even at his age, he could really make an impact, and there's no question of that. And he really took care of himself, his body. And I think, the Lakers should also think about this, a young team full of promise, an exciting team filled with growth. And the Lakers fan would, more, I think should be able to embrace this current, because of, look at the Lakers right now. It's like confused attackers and slow defenders. The bottom line here is the Lakers need to get younger and find more shooters. I think trading LeBron and AD, if we think about this a year ago, it's too crazy. But I think now, it's doable with their situation.
Oh man, imagine an NBA where LeBron gets traded. I think the world will go crazy. But good takes. We're going to take a quick break. And once we come back, we're going to share our predictions for the NBA playoffs. And of course, we're going to have a question of the week. We'll be right back.
From practical necessity to ultimate must-have fashion accessory. Yan ang brief history ng bag na lagi mong carry.
Iba na talaga yung 2019 ko sa 2020 ko. Sabi nila, di ba, wala nang income noon. Pero nung time na yun, nag-7 digits talaga.
So, Solihiya po talaga yung main product namin. Talagang handmade po siya. Nakapag-deliver na kami sa several states in the US, Netherlands, Sweden, Malaysia, Singapore, India, diba? Na na-appreciate ng hindi lang natin kalahi, kundi iba din.
Tara na at ma-inspire sa tagumpay ng ating mga kaagapay na sa bag business na kamit ang success! Ako po si Mariel Rodriguez Padilla at ito po ang Unlad Kaagapay sa Hanap Buhay.
Pangokolekta ng sentimo ng isang ina para sa anak na may sakit sa atay, nerespondihan. Mga volunteer riders na force multiplier na nagbibigay pa ng ayuda ngayong pandemya, ating sinundan. Responde at PhilHealth nagsanib puwersa sa pagbibigay ng libreng serbisyo. At vlogger na ginawa ng content ang pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan, atin po silang kilalanin. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Zarita Sese coming to you from Toronto, Canada. Thanks for sticking with us. So we only have a handful of games left for the NBA season, and this is the time where we really start to watch the standings for potential playoff matchups. So with that being said, let's take a look at the current matchups if the playoffs were to start today. So the current format that the NBA has is that play-in tournament where 7 and 8 standing play each other, 9-10 play each other. Then the loser of the 9-10 will then play, wait, do I have that correct? Someone will correct me. So we have the Raptors versus the Nets at 7-8, Hornets 9-10, Timberwolves of the West 7-9, Lakers 9-10 against the Blazers. So, Ben, which of these matchups so far would be the most exciting for you?
I would like to see the Hornets and the Hawks. You know, the Hornets have proven they can win, but they have a chance to get off on the right foot after the All-Star break with 5 of their first 7 games at home before a road trip to New Orleans and Oklahoma. And if LaMelo Ball continues to play at his All-Star level, you know, averaging 20 points, 7.5 assists, and 7.1 rebounds. And if they get Montrezl Harrell, they could make their push sooner rather than later. And it's going to be exciting to see them as well. And I think it's an exciting team, the Hornets. And it's a good matchup for them, the Hawks. But I would choose the Hornets to win in that matchup.
Interesting. So speaking of the Hornets-Hawks matchup then, Mark, what do you make of the Hawks season so far? You know, considering that just a season ago they were up against the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and now they're going to play in the play-in tournament, play-in game. So do you see them making it past the play-in game?
I definitely would love to see the Hawks get past the Hornets, even though the Hornets have such massive potential when it comes to breaking into the playoffs for the very first time with their very brand new crew. And, you know, with the Hawks, it's basically the same crew that they've had back when they went into the Eastern Conference Finals, I think a couple of years ago. And so hoping that everyone stays healthy. You know, DeAndre Hunter is currently a day-to-day. John Collins is out. Lou Williams is out. And you get both John Collins and Lou Williams are kind of like, you know, although Trae Young is the face, like John Collins and Lou Williams bring a lot when it comes to that Hawk mentality. Lou Williams, you know, from Atlanta, and then John Collins bringing that toughness, that physicality that he brings with Clint Capella, bringing that Hawks grit, you know, and the style that Nate McMillan likes to coach. So I'm really hoping that they do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make it past the playing game.
For sure. And of course, we got to talk about the Lakers. Too bad Ken is not here. So PJ, I'm going to go to you. Another potential is seeing the Lakers in the play-in tournament if they don't drop any further, but they are currently losing as you gave us that score update. So what would they need to do to make it further?
A couple things to make it further. First being, this is the biggest sports cliche out there. The best ability is availability. Stay healthy. I think before the All-Star break, we saw AD go down with another lower leg injury. And it's almost, he's one of the only players I feel like the moment he hits the floor, it could be the most devastating injury like ever, like almost like season ending or whatever. But he always gets back right back up. So it's one of those things where as long as they can make it to the play-in, stay healthy, and aside from that, you know, Ben mentioned it earlier. Their defense is, you know, defense is terrible. I think that's something that they need to focus on. They have a lot of young guys in the mixture with a lot of older guys. So find that balance between good defense, solid offense, and of course, staying healthy. You got to stay healthy.
No, for sure. And AD always seems to be just one injury away from like his career ending. And every time he plays, I'm like worried something drastically dangerous is going to happen to him. So we'll see. And finally, I want to check in with the panel on a couple things. So first, let's go with who's going to make conference finals and then who will eventually make NBA finals. So Ben, let's start with you. Who do you have? Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, and then of course, NBA Finals.
Of course, I want to see first the Bulls and the Warriors in the NBA Finals. And
that's a hot take, Ben.
Yeah,
that's a hot take.
I have been standing with that since early of the show when we started discussing the NBA season. You know, I'm looking forward for the Warriors to win it, and I think that's. I may be wrong with my prediction with the NFL. I think in the NBA, I'm strongly rooting for the Warriors and if the Bulls. But there's still, if we look at the standings right now, I know there's so many contenders in the Eastern Conference. You have the Heat and the Bulls, the Sixers, and then the Western Conference, number one is the Suns, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. And I think the dark horse is the Grizzlies with Ja Morant.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm still rooting for the Warriors and the Bulls to face off in the finals.
Ooh, I'm holding you to that, Ben. We'll come back in May and June to collect. But PJ, what about you? Western, Eastern, and then NBA Finals.
I'll just preempt it with this. At the beginning of the season, I had the Nets making it all the way. I don't think they're going to make it all the way.
No?
Although Ben is a nice addition. I'm not going to lie. Ben is a nice addition.
And they're going to get Kyrie back.
Kyrie, you got Seth.
Maybe.
But the thing that I feel like the Nets lack is depth. I don't think they're deep enough to make a good run, which is why in the Eastern Conference Finals, I have the Heat versus Bucks. Western Conference Finals, I have the Suns versus the Warriors. And to make it to the NBA Finals for the West, I have the Suns. Sorry, Ben. And then for the East, you know, I want to say my Miami Heat, but I have to be a realist. I have actually a Suns-Bucks rematch.
Oh, that's a hot take. Okay. Interesting. Mark, lastly with you, who do you see going to the finals?
So for the Western Conference, I have the Grizzlies versus the Suns happening in the Western Conference Finals. I feel that Ja Morant is in a different state of being right now, and I think I mentioned this to some of my friends, and that Ja Morant is the next Derrick Rose. Hope no bargain injuries. And then for the Eastern Conference, I'm seeing the Heat go off against the 76ers. And with the NBA Finals, I'm hoping Philly makes it, playing against the Suns.
Ooh, all different. I like it. Good job, guys. But we'll see. We'll see. Come June, I'm coming for you. So lastly, we're going to do question of the week, of course. So in honor of the NBA All-Star Weekend, let's ask the panel what their favorite dunk of all time from the competition, from all competitions. I'm going to start first, of course, the Aaron Gordon 2016 dunk. This man literally sat mid-air as he jumped over his mascot. I haven't seen anything as impressive other than, of course, Vince Carter. So Ben, what about you? What's been your most impressive of all time?
I have three answers for that, Zarita. The most iconic would be MJ's dunk from the free throw line. Most difficult, like you mentioned, Aaron Gordon, jumping over the mascot. And third would be, fan favorite, Vince Carter's Air Canada dunk.
It's over. It's over. PJ, what about you?
So honorable mentions real quick. Vince Carter, 2000. Any one of those dunks was amazing. 2003, any of the Jason Richardson dunks with like the reverse between the leg with the left hand, absolutely wild.
Yeah.
But for me, my answer would be any Zach LaVine dunk from 2016, because he made everything look so effortless and he just flew through the air. He could do whatever he wanted. That was just amazing to watch. So I have Zach LaVine.
Oh, man. What a time when it was actually interesting to watch. And lastly, Mark, who do you have for the best dunk of all time or favorite dunk?
2 honorable mentions. First off, Nate Robinson.
Oh,
Getting up there, dunking on everybody. Won it 3 times. And I think it was an Atlanta Hawk. I forgot his name. But then shout out to the tiny guys that can dunk. But my underdog favorite dunk ever during the slam dunk contest, Cedric Ceballos with the blindfold dunk in 1992. Throwback. He literally just like counted his steps, threw it in blindfold. It was crazy. Crazy.
Oh my goodness, my spatial awareness would be so off. I'd be like underneath the basket. But thanks for joining me guys this week. And that's all the time we have for this week's episode. On behalf of everyone on the panel, thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to tune in again next week. Make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com and watch us on net25.com. Like us on Facebook, and of course, follow us on Twitter at Eagle News to join the conversation. For Eagle News, I'm Zarita Sese. We live in interesting times.